This morning we decided to go out for breakfast and relax a little. Mornings in Vietnam usually start quite early. But today I woke up a little late because I was pretty tired after working continuously for several days. The streets in Vietnam quickly become busy, with thousands of motorbikes moving around everywhere. People are heading to work, taking their children to school, grabbing breakfast, and stopping by their favorite local cafes. This is a very familiar part of everyday life in Vietnam. I've been pretty stressed after working for 10 days straight, so today I wanted to go out, have a relaxing breakfast, and try a few new places. Instead of going to my usual spots, I chose two completely new places today. And the first experience was not good at all. My breakfast cost 25,000 VND, which is about $1. Sounds pretty cheap, right? But honestly, I was quite disappointed. There were a few pieces of vegetables and a fairly large piece of meat, but the broth was way too sweet. I didn't think the dish tasted good, and for the quality, I don't think it was really worth 25,000 VND. And this is something I want to point out. Not every Vietnamese dish is worth trying. After leaving the restaurant, I stopped by a coffee shop nearby. I ordered a drink for 40,000 VND, which is about $1.50. Honestly, at that price, I expected the drink to be pretty good. But to be honest, there was nothing particularly special about it. In fact, I found it a little hard to drink. The biggest plus, though, is probably the view. And I think that's also why the prices here are a little higher than at more local, everyday coffee shops. This place is also quite popular with tourists because of its atmosphere and beautiful surroundings. It's around 10 a.m. now, and the place is still packed. So, in just one morning, I've already spent 65,000 VND. That doesn't sound like much, right? But think about it this way. If I spent 65,000 VND on breakfast and coffee every day, that would add up to almost 2 million VND a month for just one person. And that's only breakfast. Luckily, I'm not someone who drinks coffee every day. If you come to Vietnam with US dollars, you might feel like a lot of things here are incredibly cheap. A coffee for just a few tens of thousands of dong. Breakfast for a few tens of thousands of dong. Even a simple local meal can cost just a few dollars. But for Vietnamese people who actually live and work here, it's not always that simple. We earn our income in Vietnamese dong, and all of our living expenses are also paid in Vietnamese dong. So it's not just about how much something costs. What really matters is how much you earn and how much you have to spend each month. My family has 3 people, and we set a monthly budget of around 10 million VND, or about $380 for our basic living expenses. Here's how we usually divide it. 3.5 million VND for rent, 500,000 VND for electricity and water, 3 million VND for food, 1 million VND for our child's education, 1 million VND for fuel and phone bills, and the remaining 1 million VND is set aside for unexpected expenses. It might sound like everything is carefully planned out. But in reality, 10 million VND doesn't leave us with a lot of extra money. If our motorbike breaks down, something in the house needs replacing, or an unexpected expense comes up, our entire monthly budget can be affected. That's why having that 1 million VND emergency fund is really important for our family. There's one thing I haven't included in that 10 million VND budget. My husband's income goes toward paying off our family's bank loan. Whatever is left over is put into savings. Taking out a bank loan is actually quite common in Vietnam. People borrow money for things like buying a home, buying a car, renovating their house, or dealing with other major expenses. And not every type of loan requires collateral. Of course, borrowing money also means having to pay back both the principal and the interest. So for many Vietnamese families, part of their monthly income doesn't go toward food, shopping, or entertainment. It goes toward paying off loans they took out in the past. By lunchtime, I decided not to eat out. Instead, I'm going to cook lunch at home for the whole family. Today's lunch is very simple: fried eggs and boiled vegetables. The total cost for 3 people is only about 30,000 VND. Of course, we don't eat this simply every day. But this is how many Vietnamese families save money. The meal doesn't have to be fancy. As long as it's filling, nutritious enough, and most importantly, much cheaper. And that's why I wanted to make this video. When you look at prices in Vietnam, you might think, wow, everything is so cheap. But to really understand what life is like in a country, sometimes you need to look at both income and living expenses at the same time. 30,000 VND for lunch for 3 people sounds incredibly cheap. But when small expenses keep adding up throughout the month, money can disappear surprisingly quickly. That's why many Vietnamese families have to think carefully before spending money, even on small things. A 40,000 VND coffee might not seem like a big deal if you only have one occasionally. But if you buy one every day, it can become a significant expense by the end of the month. So, for many Vietnamese families, saving money isn't anything unusual. It can be as simple as cooking at home, shopping at local markets, cutting back on unnecessary expenses, and always keeping a little money aside for unexpected situations. And that's how an ordinary Vietnamese family tries to balance income, living expenses, and monthly debt payments.